In the previous two videos of this section, we talked about adding categories so that you can organize your questions into groups. So when you get to the end of your course, you can use these categories to add questions, so many questions from each category to your final test. And it makes it a lot better to be able to work with your questions if you have your category set up first. Then we talked about the different types of questions. It's important to know that you can use these questions in a variety of ways depending on which questions you choose to use. The next section, or on this video, we're going to talk about actually adding questions to your question bank. You'll notice that at this point we have not added any quizzes to our course. We're simply working with the questions that we are going to put into our different quizzes. So this next video is going to talk to you about adding actual questions. So in my course, I am going to go down to my administration section of my course. I'm going back into the question bank, only this time we're going to go into questions instead of into categories. So I'm going to click on questions, and I will be ready to add questions to my course. As I add these questions, you're going to remember these questions from a previous section that we worked in, and so if they seem familiar, that's why they seem familiar. But we're going to go into our question section and adding questions to our course. So when the next screen comes up, you're going to make sure, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you have selected the correct category. Right now, if I went in and put a question in, it is going to put it at the course level. So in other words, I'm not inside my categories that I want to use to be able to organize my questions so that I can more effectively use them down the road. So I need to do my drop down menu, and then I need to go in and choose the category that I'm working on. And I'm working on my quiz for the first section, so I'm going to click on Introduction because that's where I want these questions to go. I'm going to click on Create a New Question, and the first type of question that I'm going to add is short answer. So I'm going to click on Short Answer, and I'm going to click on Next. These would be your fill-in-the-blank type questions where they have to give you a one-word, two-word answer. So I'm going to click on Question Name, and one thing to remember as you're naming your questions, be sure that you choose some type of descriptive name to where you know what you're doing, not just question 1, question 2. So I'm going to do mine according to my category. So I'm going to call this Introduction 1. So this is my introduction, question number 1. In this box, you're going to add your question, and you'll notice that you have the same toolbars that you've had in all of the dialog boxes that we've talked about up to this point. So you have all of those same features that you've worked with in the other sections. You can add a picture to a question. You can add a video to a question. You have your formula, your equation editor that you can use. So you have all of those same features that you've had all along. So in my question, I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave my blank because that's the word that they're going to be looking for. Okay, so I put my question in. I can come down here and give general feedback. So in other words, when the student is done answering this question, it will give them general feedback. So it will say, you have completed question 1, or that kind of thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the answer. It's just a general feedback to your question. This is where you can say whether you want your answers to be case sensitive. If you're teaching an English class and you're looking at capitalization, then that's probably something that you want to say, yes, I want my cases to match. So in other words, they have to have everything capitalized just like it should be. On my questions, case is not important. I don't care if the words are capitalized or not capitalized. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put my answer in. In this answer, I'm going to say that this question is worth 100. This answer is worth 100%, and I want the computer to tell the student, "Good job," after they've answered this, because that is the answer. Now let's say that I am afraid that they may not plural, they may not say due dates, they may just say due date, because inside of Moodle you have to have these exactly as the student would answer them. So in other words, if I just had due dates and the student put due date, Moodle would count that question incorrect. So I want them to still get 100% for that answer, and I'm still going to say good job. So you need to be sure that if you have multiple ideas of what students may answer, then you need to go ahead and put that in. If you need more choices, you simply click on blanks for 3 more answers and it will give them more choices to use. I come down and I say Save Changes. So how I've set this question up, capitalization doesn't matter. So if they capitalize the D, it's not going to hurt anything. Or if they don't capitalize the D, it's not going to hurt anything. I have given the 2 choices of answers that I think my students will answer that I want to have counted correct. Now once you have the question in, it comes back to this screen and shows you that you have the question in. You still have your editing feature that will take you back to the question. This is your preview that you can click on, and it's going to come up and show you what the student is going to see. Okay, it's not going to have this part down here at the bottom, but it is going to allow you to see the question as the student would see the question. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to go in and we're going to create another new question. So I'm going to click on Create New Question. It is another short answer question. I'm going to click Next. When I do that, you'll notice that on my category it tells me that I have 1 question added into the introduction section. So I'm going to add another question. We're going to call this Introduction number 2. And my question for number 2 and I'm going to again give my blank. This is what I want my students to answer. So I'm going to give my blank. Again, I could give general feedback if I wanted to give general feedback, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to give my answers. And the first answer would be Mozilla Firefox, which is obviously the correct answer. So I'm going to give that 100%. Again, I could create some type of feedback, so when my student answered that question, it gave him feedback. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to just put Mozilla, which is kind of the correct answer, but not really. So I'm going to only give him 50% for that answer. And then I'm going to put Firefox, which again is kind of the right answer, but not exactly. So I'm going to again put 50%. I could add more blanks if I wanted more choices. I'm going to come down and I'm going to say Save Changes. I now have 2 questions in my introduction question bank. In this next question, I'm going to show you how you can add a picture to a question. So I'm going to click on Create a New Question. This is a short answer question. And this is going to be Introduction Question 4. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to enter my question, which is the blank allows you to move around in Moodle more efficiently while we're here, I'll show you if you get the red squiggly line, which means that a word has been misspelled or misused in some fashion. If you're inside a Word or places like that, you can right click and it will give you the correct answer. Because of the language that Moodle 2.5 is written in, it will not automatically do that. If you hold your Control key down and right click on the word, it will give you the proper spelling of these words, and that way it will allow you to correct the word. So I'm going to finish my question. So in here, I'm going to put a picture. So I'm going to click on my picture symbol or my image symbol, and I'm going to go find that image, and I'm going to browse. And when I browse, I saved it on my desktop in my Moodle Bootcamp folder. So I'm going to go into my Moodle Bootcamp folder, and here's my question picture that I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on that, say open. It inserts the link inside. I want this saved as introduction question 4, and I'm going to say upload this file. When you do, it's going to come up, it's going to show you what you're adding. It's going to give you an image description, and so I'm going to say in my image description for question number 4. Now this is obviously from my breadcrumb question. I do not want to label this breadcrumb because when a student holds their mouse over this picture, it's going to come up and tell them what it is, which would give them the answer to the question. So you want to make sure that in your image description that you give it something that would help someone who is visually impaired but not necessarily give them the answer. I'm going to insert that into my question. You now notice that it's in my question, so I'm going to continue on. I come down and my answer is breadcrumb trail for 100%. They may also just say breadcrumb, which is not quite the right answer, but I'm going to give them a little bit of credit for that answer. I come down. If I needed to add more blanks, I could, and now I'm going to save changes. So now I want to go in and preview this question to be sure that it's going to be viewed correctly. So when I bring the question up, it gives them the question, it gives them the blank that they're having to fill in, and it shows them a picture of that item that we were just talking about. The next question I'm going to add is a true-false question. So I'm going to go up to create a new question. This is a true-false question. I'm going to click next. Again, comes up to the same type of dialog box that we're used to using. So this is going to be my introduction question number 5. I'm going to put my question in. Connect sessions will automatically record and create a link in your Moodle course. I'm going to come down again. I could give it general feedback. This time I'm going to choose whether I want this answer to be true or false. My answer is false, so I click on false. This one does not give you the opportunity, obviously, because this is a right or wrong answer, so it doesn't give you the opportunity to add percentages to it. And then I'm going to click on Save Changes. If we want to go in and look at a true-false question, it's going to come up like this, and it's going to tell them that they have to choose true or false. The next type of question that we're going to put in is a multiple choice question. So I'm going to create a new question. I'm going to go up and I'm going to choose multiple choice. Again, my dialog comes up exactly the same, so I'm going to put in that this is introduction question number 7. I'm going to put the question part of my question in, so if you place and it shows up. So that's my question. Again, I can give general feedback. Now I'm going to go down a couple other choices that you can do. You can have a variety of choices as far as how you want your test scored. So in other words, you can say that there's only one answer. You can say that there's multiple answers and give so much credit. So there's a lot of different variances you can do as far as what's allowed in your question. Shuffle the choices. You need to make sure that you're careful with this one, because if you have any questions that say all of the above, none of the above, those kind of things, you need to make sure that you do not check shuffle the choices, because that's going to mess you up as far as being able to have those types of answers. You can also dictate what your choices look like. Are they ABC, capital ABC, 1, 2, 3, so you have a little bit of choice as far as how you want those items to come up as far as the course is concerned. So in this section, we're going to put in what our choices are. So my first choice is latest news block on the right side of your course, which is obviously one of the correct answers. And again, you can put feedback in. The question that I'm going to put in is actually an all of the above type question. But I could have these, if there was only one correct answer, then I would put the percentage on that particular answer. Um, And then my number 4 is all of the above, which is obviously the correct answer. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to give that 100%. Technically, I could also give a certain percentage just in case someone chose one of these others, but I want them to know that it's showing up in all of those 3 places, so the only answer I'm going to give correct is all of the above. I'm going to come down and I'm going to click on Save Changes. Now if you look, as we've added these different questions, you'll notice that each type of question has a different symbol in front of it. This helps you as far as being able to go in and look at your questions. If you want to see why is this question different, you can go in and see the different types of questions. We have one more type of question that I would like to show you, and that's going to be our essay type question. So we're going to click on Create a Question. I'm going to click on Essay, and I'm going to click Next. On your essay question, remember I mentioned earlier, on an essay question, you are going to have to go in and you are going to have to grade that question by hand. Moodle cannot grade essay questions. The bad part is it's going to show up as incorrect until you do go in and grade it by hand. And so that's something that you need to make sure that your students are aware of as they're taking their test. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to put the question in. As I'm putting the question in, I always put a note on here that says, this is So I always put that little disclaimer in so that students are aware that this is going to happen as far as when they're answering that question. So you can go in and again give it different specifications as far as whether you want to allow attachments. If this is a question that they're going to have to upload something to you, you can actually say how many attachments you want. You can make it unlimited. So there's different stipulations that you can put. You can say how big the box is supposed to be. So again, you can limit how much information they can give to you as far as the information that they're giving. So there's stipulations again that you can place on this. You can actually put in the correct answer. So if someone else is grading your test for you, you can put in what you think the answer should be. The only person that's going to be able to see that is the grader. So I'm going to come down, since I'm the one grading it and I know what the answer is, I'm going to come down and I'm going to click on Save Changes. The one type of question, and on this quiz I didn't have this, but I do want to go in and show you if you create a matching question. So I'm going to click on matching and I'm going to click on next. We're not actually going to go in and put a question in, but again you would have the same dialog box as far as the question text. When you come down to the bottom, you're going to have where the word is, what that word's linking to, where the word is, what that word's linking to. When you get down, if you have more than 3, you just keep adding 3 at a time, and it's going to add boxes for you to be able to put in more words and more definitions.